Have you ever looked back at your life and felt the heavy ache of wasted years, wondering where the time went and why so much of it slipped through your hands? It is a question that pierces the heart, because deep inside, every person knows the pain of opportunities missed, choices regretted, and seasons that seem to have been consumed without fruit. The mind replays mistakes like a broken record, reminding you of what could have been if only you had acted differently, if only you had chosen more wisely, if only you had been stronger. That silent weight of regret has the power to crush joy, to steal energy, and to convince you that the best days are gone forever. Yet even in that darkness, a whisper rises. What if those years are not truly lost? What if they can be transformed into something greater than you ever imagined? The truth is that every second of life is precious, but no second is beyond redemption. Wasted time may feel like a thief that robbed you of destiny, but what if the same years that seemed empty are actually seeds waiting for restoration? What if the experiences you thought disqualified you are the very materials that can be rebuilt into strength, wisdom, and purpose? This is where divine restoration enters, not as a vague hope, but as a living promise that time can be redeemed, value can be returned, and the path ahead can be brighter than the one behind. You are not condemned to live in the shadow of wasted years. You are called to rise, to reclaim, and to walk into a season where the broken pieces are reassembled into a masterpiece. Regret tells you that it is too late. Restoration tells you that it is just the beginning. Regret shouts that nothing can change. Restoration whispers that everything can be renewed. The reason you must stay and hear this message is because what you believe about your past will shape your future. If you believe you are stuck in failure, you will keep repeating cycles of loss. But if you believe your years can be redeemed, you will walk with courage, hope, and expectation that multiplies every step. This is more than motivation. It is transformation. The wasted seasons you mourn can become the foundation for an abundant tomorrow, but it begins with opening your heart to believe again. Stay with this journey because what you are about to discover has the power to shift the weight you have carried for too long. Imagine walking free from the chains of regret. Imagine seeing doors open that once seemed permanently shut. Imagine living not as a victim of time lost, but as a witness of time restored. That is not fantasy. It is the reality waiting for you if you dare to believe. You do not need to surrender to the voice of wasted years. You can embrace the call of divine restoration and step boldly into the life you were created to live. Word count. 500 white heavy check mark restoration is more than recovering what was lost. It is the process of being renewed, multiplied, and elevated into a place greater than before. Greater than before. When you think of restoration, do not limit your vision to simply getting back the time that slipped away. True restoration is when the value of those years is not only returned, but increased. It is when your life shifts from emptiness to overflowing, when weakness turns into strength, and when disappointment is exchanged for greater opportunity. This is not about going backwards to relive what cannot be repeated. It is about stepping forward into a future that holds more than the past ever could. The wasted years may have scarred you, but restoration makes the scars the very proof of your survival and the evidence of your growth. What you thought was destroyed can become the ground for double increase, and what you believed was gone forever can return multiplied in impact. To understand this truth deeply, you must see restoration not as a distant hope, but as a present reality. It begins within the mind and heart long before it shows up in circumstances. Renewal starts in your thinking. The wasted years no longer have the power to define you, because you have decided that they will serve as lessons, not as labels. There will always be a temptation to revisit regret, but you must resist it with vision. When your focus is fixed on what lies ahead, regret loses its power to hold you back. Lift your eyes to what is possible. Lift your heart to what can be restored. Choose to believe that every wasted year can be redeemed, every broken opportunity can be replaced, and every painful memory can be transformed into strength. You are not disqualified by your past. You are positioned for restoration. Refuse to bow to regret, because your best days are not behind you. They are unfolding right now. Word count, 500 white heavy check. Mark the mind as the birthplace of transformation. Every thought you choose to entertain becomes a seed planted in the soil of your destiny. If you allow your mind to remain locked in the pattern of regret, You will live as though your future is already ruined. But if you choose to shift your mindset, everything changes. Renewal begins the moment you decide to see wasted years not as destruction, but as preparation. The years you thought were empty may have been shaping resilience within you. The time you believed was lost may have been forging strength you could not see at the moment. When your perspective changes, your life changes because your direction always follows your dominant thoughts. If you want restoration, you must first think restoration. If you want renewal, you must first embrace it in the hidden chambers of your mind. Every breakthrough begins with a thought. Every collapse also begins with a thought. That is why the battle for restoration is fought in the arena of mindset. Because the voices of doubt and fear will try to convince you that nothing can change. But you have the power to reframe those voices and replace them with declarations of hope, strength, and possibility. This is not about denying reality, but about shaping reality through belief. Psychology proves that the way you interpret your experiences determines how you respond to life. If you interpret your past as wasted, you will live in despair. If you interpret it as training ground for greater things, you will walk with confidence that the best is yet to come. The meaning you give to your years will determine the momentum of your days ahead. A mindset shift is not a one-time decision. It is a daily commitment to align your thoughts with what you desire to create. It requires discipline to catch yourself when negative patterns arise and courage to replace them with empowering truths. Every time you speak life over yourself, you are rewiring your brain. Every time you declare possibility instead of impossibility, you are laying a foundation for restoration. This inner work produces outer results because your actions always flow from your beliefs. If your mind is renewed, your decisions will follow a new path, and your destiny will unfold with fresh purpose. You cannot think small and expect a restored future. You cannot dwell in defeat and expect to walk in victory. You must shift your mindset into alignment with restoration, abundance, and strength. Your mind is your greatest tool for divine restoration. When you master your thoughts, you master your future. The years that once defined you no longer hold the power to limit you. From this moment, you can choose to think higher, believe stronger, and walk taller. The wasted years cannot return, but their weight can be transformed into wisdom. And wisdom applied with faith creates a life far greater than anything regret could ever take away. Word count. 500 white heavy check mark. Purpose is the compass that directs the soul toward meaning. Without it, time drifts aimlessly and the years slip away without producing fulfillment. Many of the moments you now call wasted were not only about mistakes, but about living disconnected from true purpose. When your life lacks clarity of direction, distractions easily consume you. Days blend into weeks, weeks into years, and suddenly you realize that so much of what you gave your energy to was never aligned with the reason you were created. This realization is painful, but it is also powerful, because purpose has the ability to redeem the very years that seemed lost. Once you realign with why you exist, every step becomes intentional, every decision carries weight, and every moment regains meaning. The human spirit is designed to thrive when it knows its assignment. Psychology confirms that when a person has a sense of meaning, they endure hardship with resilience and rise above obstacles with determination. Purpose gives suffering context and turns struggles into stepping stones. Without it, even success feels empty. With it, even the smallest act becomes significant. Restoration flows naturally when you return to the path of your calling, because the energy that was once scattered begins to focus like a laser. What once felt like wasted time transforms into lessons that equip you for the mission now at hand. Every delay becomes preparation, every detail becomes training, and every disappointment becomes wisdom. Nothing is wasted when it is surrendered to purpose. To reconnect with purpose, you must dare to ask yourself the questions you may have been avoiding. Why were you created? What vision burns in your heart that refuses to die? What contribution are you meant to bring that only you can give? The answers may not come instantly, but the act of asking awakens something within you. It stirs a hunger that pulls you forward. Once awakened, this hunger begins to guide your decisions. You no longer settle for distractions that drain your time. You no longer waste energy on paths that lead nowhere. Instead, you begin to align with what is eternal, meaningful, and lasting. That alignment fuels restoration, because when you are living in purpose, every day counts. The most powerful truth about purpose is that it makes the future brighter than the past. The years you lost wandering without direction do not compare to the years you will gain once you live with intention. One day of clarity outweighs years of confusion. One season of focused purpose outweighs decades of drifting. This is why reconnecting with purpose is not just about healing regret. It is about igniting destiny. Your wasted years are not the end of your story. They are the background against which the brilliance of your purpose will shine. Choose today to step out of distraction and into direction. For when you live aligned with purpose, restoration becomes unstoppable. Word count. 500 wide heavy checkmark restoration operates by a principle that cannot be ignored. What you plant determines what you harvest. The wasted years may have been marked by poor choices, distractions, or neglect, but the season of renewal begins with new seeds. Every action, every word, every decision you take today becomes a seed with the power to multiply. You cannot undo yesterday, but you can plant for tomorrow. The ground of your life is still fertile, waiting for what you choose to sow into it now. If you sow faith, discipline, and consistency, you will reap strength, clarity, and abundance. If you sow doubt, fear, and delay, you will only repeat the patterns of loss. The law of sowing and reaping is unbreakable, and it guarantees that nothing invested with intention is ever wasted. Psychology shows that habits shape destiny. Small choices compound into massive results over time. When you commit to daily disciplines, you are not just performing routines, you are planting seeds that grow into transformation. Every prayer whispered, every moment of focus guarded, every sacrifice embraced is a seed placed into the soil of restoration. You may not see the harvest immediately, but just as nature never fails to respond to a planted seed, your life will never fail to respond to what you consistently sow. Restoration is not a sudden miracle that drops from the sky. It is a process fueled by intentional planting, faithful watering, and patient endurance. The seeds you sow today carry the power to redeem the years you thought were gone. This is why you must not underestimate the smallest step. One act of discipline can set a chain reaction into motion. One decision to rise earlier, to focus longer, to love deeper, or to pray harder can multiply into breakthroughs you cannot yet imagine. Just as wasted years were the product of repeated neglect, restored years will be the product of repeated focus. Each moment of intentionality builds upon the last, creating momentum that no setback can destroy. Restoration is never passive. It requires action, and action is the seed that guarantees multiplication. The ground will yield back to you what you put into it. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You may feel that the time you lost is too great, but when seeds are sown in faith, multiplication ensures that what you reap will exceed what you missed. What was stolen can be returned in greater measure, because one good seed carries within it the potential for 1,000 more. The years that once drained you can be replaced by years that overflow with abundance, but only if you choose to plant differently. Stop mourning the harvests you never received. Start planting the seeds that guarantee the future you long for. Restoration is waiting to multiply what you sow today into a destiny far greater than what you ever believed possible. Word count, 500 white heavy check mark. Fear is the silent enemy that steals more years than failure ever could. It whispers that you are not ready, that you are not capable, that it is safer to wait another day. Delay becomes disguised as wisdom, when in truth it is paralysis dressed as caution. Procrastination is the partner of fear, convincing you that tomorrow will always be available, while today slips quietly through your fingers. The years that were wasted often carry this same signature. Moments where fear won the battle and you stood still when you were meant to move. If restoration is to become reality, fear must be dethroned and courage must rise. You cannot be restored by hiding. You are restored by stepping boldly into the unknown, refusing to let the shadows of doubt dictate the course of your destiny. Fear thrives on imagination, magnifying what could go wrong until it feels impossible to act. But that same imagination, when fueled by faith, becomes the birthplace of vision and strength. The energy you once gave to fear can be redirected into courage. The very thoughts that paralyzed you can become the thoughts that propel you forward. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move in spite of it. Every bold action weakens fear's grip and strengthens your ability to walk in restoration. Every decisive step announces to your future that you will no longer be ruled by hesitation. The human brain is wired to avoid pain, which is why it convinces you to remain in comfort zones. But comfort zones are prisons in disguise. They feel safe, yet they slowly drain your potential. Restoration demands that you step beyond those invisible walls and embrace discomfort as the training ground of transformation. When you dare to act in the face of fear, your confidence grows. When you choose to push through resistance, your character expands. What once terrified you begins to shrink in the light of your bravery. Fear loses power the moment you refuse to bow to it. Every wasted year carried moments where courage was absent, but restoration is fueled by moments where courage takes the lead. Boldness accelerates what was delayed. Fear delays destiny, but courage redeems it. Every time you choose courage, you redeem lost opportunities. Every time you step forward, despite uncertainty, you reclaim ground you thought was gone forever. The future does not belong to the hesitant. It belongs to the courageous. You have carried fear long enough. It has cost you time, energy, and opportunity. But fear's reign ends the moment you decide it no longer has authority over you. Restoration is calling for a fearless version of you to emerge. Do not wait for courage to feel natural. Act, and courage will meet you there. Do not wait for fear to vanish. Move, and fear will shrink. This is the hour to step into boldness, for only the brave walk into restoration. Word count 500 white, heavy checkmark restoration is not found in occasional bursts of effort, but in the steady rhythm of daily alignment. One bold decision may spark a change, but consistency is what sustains it. Every day holds the power to either pull you back into distraction or propel you further into destiny. The difference lies in how you choose to align your mind, your actions, and your heart. When you rise each morning with a clear intention, you reclaim authority over your time. When you guard your focus and direct your energy toward what truly matters, you accelerate the work of restoration. Alignment is not about perfection. It is about direction. Even small steps taken consistently in the right direction create a momentum that nothing can stop. The human brain is shaped by repetition. Every thought rehearsed becomes a pattern. Every action repeated becomes a habit. Every habit, good or bad, forms the structure of your life. That is why daily alignment is the invisible power behind restoration. If you allow your days to drift, you will repeat the very patterns that wasted years before. But when you choose to build new patterns, habits of discipline, focus, gratitude, and faith, you rewire your mind for transformation. The brain begins to favor the pathways you use most often. When those pathways are aligned with your purpose, they produce resilience, clarity, and strength. The beauty of alignment is that it compounds quietly. You may not see drastic results overnight, but each aligned action builds upon the last. Every moment of prayer strengthens your spirit. Every moment of reflection sharpens your mind. Every act of discipline expands your capacity. These daily choices stack up, and over time, they create a life that looks completely different from the one that once felt wasted. Restoration is not a single event. It is the harvest of sustained alignment with what matters most. It is tempting to underestimate the small shifts, but greatness is built in the details of each day. The decision to wake with gratitude, to focus on what you desire rather than what you fear, to choose progress over procrastination, all of these decisions may seem ordinary, yet together they create extraordinary change. Consistency always outperforms intensity that fades. Restoration belongs to those who refuse to drift, who anchor themselves daily in purpose, who align thoughts and actions with the vision of a redeemed life. Your days are no longer meant to be consumed by distraction. They are designed to build the future you desire. Every sunrise is another invitation to align with destiny. Every nightfall is proof that you had the power to direct your steps. If you commit to alignment, wasted years will be overtaken by fruitful years. What once seemed lost will be replaced with abundance multiplied through daily faithfulness. This is how restoration accelerates, through steady, unwavering alignment with the life you were created to live. Word count 500 white heavy check mark. The people around you play a greater role in your restoration than you may realize. Relationships are not neutral. They either propel you forward or pull you back. Many wasted years are the result of being surrounded by the wrong voices, the wrong influences, and the wrong examples, When you walk with people who drain your energy, belittle your vision, or distract you from purpose, you begin to mirror their patterns. Their fears become your fears. Their habits become your habits. Their limitations begin to shape your identity. To step into restoration, you must be intentional about who walks beside you. The right connections act as accelerators, sharpening your focus, challenging your growth, and reminding you of who you are meant to be. The human brain is wired to absorb from its environment. Subconsciously, you adapt to the expectations of those closest to you. If you are surrounded by negativity, you begin to expect less of yourself. If you are surrounded by mediocrity, you settle for less than your potential. But if you are surrounded by people of vision, discipline, and hope, their energy pulls you upward. Restoration requires more than personal determination. It requires alignment with a circle that reflects the future you are building, not the past you are leaving behind. Your destiny is too important to be compromised by the wrong company. Releasing toxic relationships can feel painful, but clinging to them costs far more. Every moment spent with people who diminish your purpose is another moment delayed in your restoration. Letting go is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of courage. It creates space for the right voices to enter, voices that call out the best in you, voices that remind you of your worth when doubt tries to return. Restoration often accelerates the moment you separate from the distractions disguised as friendships and embrace connections that align with your destiny. Healthy relationships do more than support you. They sharpen you. They challenge your excuses, hold you accountable, and celebrate your progress. They believe in your future even when your past tries to haunt you. They provide strength when you feel weak, clarity when you feel lost, and encouragement when you feel weary. These are not ordinary companions. They are divine instruments of restoration. Just as wasted years were magnified by wrong influences, restored years will be magnified by the right ones. Examine the circle around you. Does it reflect the life you want to create? Does it push you toward alignment with your purpose, or does it drag you back into cycles you are breaking free from? Choose wisely, because your relationships shape your restoration. Surround yourself with those who breathe life, who fuel your vision, and who walk with the same determination to rise. Your restoration is not only personal, it is relational. The right people will accelerate what once seemed impossible and carry you into a future brighter than your past. Word count, 500 white heavy checkmark restoration flourishes in the soil of faith. Without faith, even the strongest intention collapses under the weight of doubt. Faith is the force that keeps you moving when circumstances try to convince you to stop. It is the inner fire that whispers possibility when everything around you shouts impossibility. Faith is more than belief. It is expectation. It is the conviction that what is unseen is already on its way, that what was stolen can return in greater measure, and that what feels broken can rise stronger than before. Expectancy shifts your posture. It causes you to walk with confidence, to speak with boldness, and to act with courage. When you live in faith, you are no longer waiting for restoration. You are preparing for it as though it is already here. The mind responds powerfully to expectation. When you anticipate failure, you unconsciously act in ways that produce it. When you anticipate restoration, your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with that vision. This alignment creates momentum. It pulls opportunities toward you and awakens resilience within you. Expectation is not wishful thinking. It is the conscious decision to see beyond what is visible. Faith rewires your brain to notice possibilities where others see obstacles, to move forward where others hesitate, and to believe in outcomes that others dismiss as impossible. It is a psychology of victory rooted in the conviction that restoration is not a chance but a certainty.